Have you ever noticed something others cannot? Not something small. Not a detail in a painting or a name someone forgot. I'm talking about something fundamental. Something that changes everything. You look around a room full of people, at a party, in a meeting, at a family dinner, and you see the machinery beneath the surface. The scripts everyone's reading from. The invisible strings. And here's the strange part, you can't unsee it. Alan Watts once said that the awakened person is like someone who's walked backstage at a theater. They've seen all the ropes and pulleys and wooden scaffolding holding up what the audience believes is a real castle. You return to your seat, but now you know. The magic is broken. Or perhaps, the magic is just beginning. But what nobody tells you is this, that kind of seeing comes with a shadow. A dark side that Alan Watts himself warned about. Because once you've glimpsed behind the curtain, you're no longer in the same play as everyone else. You're awake in a room full of sleepers. And here's what you need to understand before we go any further, that doesn't make you special. It makes you alone. So stay with me. Because what I'm about to share is the thing nobody wants to talk about when they speak of enlightenment or awakening. The philosophers won't tell you. The gurus gloss over it. But it's the most important thing you need to know if you've ever felt this peculiar gift, this strange curse, of seeing what others cannot see. According to Alan Watts, society is not built on truth. It's built on agreement. Think about that for a moment. Money only works because we all agree it works. A piece of paper, a number on a screen, worthless in itself, but charged with collective belief. Status, titles, borders, time itself as we measure it, all of it is a game we've chosen to play. And the game only functions when everyone takes it seriously. Now here's where it gets dangerous. When you see through the game, you become a threat. Not because you're violent. Not because you're trying to destroy anything. But because your very presence reminds people that the emperor has no clothes. You're a crack in the mirror of consensus reality. Alan Watts discovered this early in his own life. He spoke about it often, how society operates like a grand board game, with rules everyone has silently agreed to follow. You collect your properties, you pass go, you play your role. But what happens when one player looks up from the board and says, you know, this is just cardboard and plastic, right? We're just moving pieces around. The other players don't celebrate this insight. They get uncomfortable. Angry, even. Because you've just threatened the integrity of the game itself. And most people are so invested in the game, they've spent so much energy learning the rules, climbing the ladders, avoiding the snakes, that they cannot afford to let you question it. This is the first fracture. The moment you're seeing separates you from the collective dream. You're sitting in a meeting and everyone's arguing passionately about something you recognize as fundamentally absurd. Or you're at a social gathering where everyone's performing status and identity, and you can see the performance so clearly it's almost painful. You're not judging them, that's the important part, you're just aware. And the strangest part? You can't just tell them. Because the very act of pointing it out makes you the problem. You become the troublemaker. The cynic. The one who doesn't get it. When in reality, you get it too well. Alan Watts said that the menu is not the meal. The map is not the territory. But society spends most of its time arguing about menus and maps, completely forgetting that reality itself is still out there, untouched by our concepts. When you see this, really see it, you're exiled from the kingdom of the menu eaters. Let's talk about what this actually feels like. You wake up in the morning and you carry this knowing with you. It's not something you chose. You didn't ask for it. But it's there, humming beneath everything like a frequency only you can hear. You go through your day and you watch people panic over things that don't matter. Chase things that cannot satisfy them. Build elaborate structures of meaning on foundations of sand. And you feel separate. Not superior. That's the misconception. Most people who see through the illusions of society don't feel elevated, they feel lonely. Because loneliness isn't just being physically alone. It's being unable to share your reality with anyone around you. Alan Watts spoke about this outsider consciousness throughout his life. He understood that every mystic, every philosopher who dared to peek behind the curtain, paid a price. Socrates was executed for asking too many questions. Jesus was crucified for suggesting that the kingdom of heaven was within, not in the external structures of power. The Buddha's own family thought he'd lost his mind when he walked away from the palace. History is full of seers who were punished for seeing. But here's what's even more dangerous: the punishment doesn't always come from outside. Sometimes the cruelest isolation comes from within. You start to wonder if something's wrong with you. Maybe everyone else is right and you're the one who's broken. Maybe you're just overthinking everything. This is the temptation. To numb yourself back to sleep. To re-enter the dream willingly because the dream, at least, comes with companionship. With belonging. With the warm comfort of shared illusion. But you can't. Once you've seen, you cannot unsee. According to Alan Watts, this is exactly where the real work begins. The loneliness is not a mistake. It's not a punishment. It's an initiation. Here's the trap, and it's a subtle one: when you see what others cannot see, there's a seductive voice that whispers, "You're better than them." Listen carefully. This is where wisdom turns into poison. You've glimpsed something true. You've seen through the charade of status, money, identity, time, all the constructs that keep people running in circles. And there's a temptation, a very human temptation, to let that vision harden into superiority. To look at people with pity or contempt. To think, I'm awake and they're asleep. I'm free and they're trapped. Alan Watts warned against this more than anything else. He said that the moment you think you're enlightened, you've lost it. The moment your seeing becomes a position, an ideology, a banner you wave, you've just created another ego, another identity, another illusion to defend. This is the dark side within the dark side. The meta trap. Because the truth is, everyone is seeing something. The businessman chasing success has glimpsed something about order and achievement. The artist absorbed in creation has touched something about beauty and expression. Your vision isn't better, it's just different. Wider in some ways, perhaps, but narrower in others. Alan Watts discovered that true wisdom isn't about escaping the game of life, it's about playing it consciously. It's not about standing outside the dance and critiquing the dancers. It's about dancing more freely because you know it's a dance. But here's where people get stuck. They confuse detachment with disconnection. They think that seeing through the illusion means you have to reject the world, withdraw from it, become a hermit on a mountain or a cynic in a cave. This is the great misunderstanding. The danger of seeing is not that you'll care too little, it's that you'll forget how to care at all. You'll become so focused on the emptiness behind things that you miss the fullness within them. You'll see that money is a construct and forget that it can still feed hungry people. You'll see that relationships are impermanent and forget that they can still hold profound beauty. According to Alan Watts, the sage doesn't renounce the world. The sage plays in it more joyfully than anyone else, precisely because they're not fooled by it. They eat when hungry, sleep when tired, laugh when amused, but they're not grasping at these experiences. The temptation of the seer is to become a ghost. To float above life, untouched and untouchable. But this isn't enlightenment, it's just another form of fear. So how do you walk this edge? How do you live with eyes open in a world that prefers them closed? Alan Watts had a phrase for this: the wisdom of insecurity. He said that the person who truly understands the nature of reality doesn't become rigid with certainty, they become fluid with not knowing. They learn to carry their insights lightly, like a bird carries air beneath its wings. Here's what this looks like in practice. You're in a conversation where someone's taking something incredibly seriously, their career setback, their social reputation, their political identity. You can see, quite clearly, that all of this is constructed. Temporary. Essentially empty. But instead of pointing this out, you simply meet them where they are. You listen. You honor their experience. You don't need them to see what you see. This is the art. To know and not need to tell. To understand and not need to correct. To see and not need to convince. Alan Watts said that the sage wears the world like a loose garment. They're in it, but not strangled by it. They play their role, parent, worker, friend, citizen, but they're not imprisoned by these roles. There's always a little gap, a little space of awareness, a quiet smile behind the performance. Think of it like this: you're an actor who knows they're in a play, but who commits fully to their character anyway. You deliver your lines with passion. You move through the scenes with presence. But you're also aware, always, that when the curtain falls, you'll take off the costume and return to something more fundamental. This is carrying vision lightly. According to Alan Watts, this kind of lightness is not indifference, it's the highest form of engagement. Because when you're not desperately grasping at life, you can actually taste it. When you're not trying to make moments permanent, you can be fully present to them. Section 6, The Paradox of Awakening, 350 words. Now we arrive at the heart of it. The central paradox that Alan Watts spent his entire life exploring. When you see what others cannot see, life becomes simultaneously lonelier and infinitely richer. Let that sink in. Both things are true at the same time. You're lonelier because fewer people can meet you in the space you inhabit. The conversations at parties feel hollow. The things people stress about seem trivial. You're surrounded by people, yet you feel like you're walking through a world of ghosts, or perhaps you're the ghost, moving unseen through their solid reality. But you're also richer. Immeasurably so. Because while others are lost and worry about things that won't matter in 5 years, you're tasting the depth of this present moment. While they're chasing futures that will never satisfy, you're finding eternity right here, right now. While they're building castles of meaning that will eventually crumble, you're discovering the meaning that needs no building. Alan Watts said that before enlightenment, you chop wood and carry water. After enlightenment, you chop wood and carry water. The actions are the same. The difference is the consciousness with which you do them. The awakened person doesn't transcend ordinary life, they penetrate it more deeply than anyone else. Here's what this looks like: you're washing dishes and everyone else sees a chore. You see the warm water, the soap bubbles catching light, the miracle of consciousness experiencing itself through this simple act. You're sitting in traffic and everyone else is consumed with frustration. You notice the frustration, but you also notice the awareness that's noticing the frustration, and in that noticing, there's a kind of spaciousness, a kind of humor even. This is the paradox. The more you see through the illusions of life, the more you appreciate life itself. The more you recognize that meaning is constructed, the more meaningful everything becomes. According to Alan Watts, this is because awakening isn't about gaining something you didn't have, it's about recognizing what was always already here. You don't become enlightened. You realize you are enlightenment, looking at itself through temporary eyes. But here's the part nobody wants to hear: you can't give this to anyone else. You can't force people awake. The only thing you can do is embody it. Live it. Be it. Let me give you another way to think about this. Alan Watts often used the metaphor of the mirror. The person who sees clearly becomes like a mirror. They reflect reality as it is, without distortion, without preference, without the need to make it into something else. They show people their own faces, their own games, their own illusions, not with judgment, but with simple, clear reflection. And here's the problem: people hate mirrors. Not all people, of course. But most. Because mirrors show them what they've been trying desperately not to see. Mirrors reveal the gap between who they pretend to be and who they actually are. Mirrors expose the masks. And everyone's wearing masks. Every single person, without exception, has constructed an identity, a self-image they're projecting into the world. The successful businessman. The devoted mother. The intellectual. The rebel. These aren't lies, exactly. They're just partial truths. Selected highlights. Carefully curated versions of a much messier reality. According to Alan Watts, the ego is nothing but a collection of these masks, held together by memory and defended by fear. We spend enormous amounts of energy maintaining our masks, making sure they don't slip, preventing others from seeing what's underneath. But when someone sees clearly, when they become a mirror, they reflect not just your mask, but the fact that you're wearing one. And this is intolerable. This is why truth-tellers throughout history have been silenced, exiled, executed. Think about Socrates. He wandered around Athens asking simple questions. What is justice? What is virtue? What do you really know? He wasn't claiming to have answers, he was just holding up a mirror. And Athens killed him for it. Alan Watts himself experienced this. He was dismissed by serious academics as a popularizer. By traditional Buddhists as an appropriator. People attacked the messenger rather than face what the messenger was reflecting. But now we need to talk about the danger that lurks even deeper than all of this. The danger that threatens not from the outside, but from within your own seeing. And here it is, the danger that your vision will harden into arrogance. That your seeing will become another form of blindness. That your awakening will put you back to sleep, just in a subtler, more sophisticated dream. Alan Watts warned about this constantly. He said that the biggest obstacle to enlightenment isn't ignorance, it's the belief that you're already enlightened. It's the moment you think you've arrived, you've figured it out, you've got the answer. Because the moment you grasp at your understanding, you've turned living truth into dead concept. This is what happens to so many people who experience genuine insight. They touch something real, a moment of clarity, a glimpse behind the veil. And then, tragically, they make that moment into a possession. They build an identity around it. They become the enlightened one, the awakened one, the one who sees. And just like that, they've created another ego. Another mask. Another illusion to defend. The truly dangerous part of seeing clearly is not that others will reject you. It's that you'll reject them. That you'll let your vision separate you not just socially, but spiritually. That you'll look at people struggling with their illusions and feel contempt instead of compassion. According to Alan Watts, the real test of awakening is not whether you can see through illusions. It's whether you can see through illusions and still participate in life with full heart. Can you recognize that it's all a game and still play with joy? Can you know that nothing matters ultimately and still care deeply about this moment? This is where most people fail. They think that seeing through something means you have to destroy it or abandon it. But this is just another form of grasping. So let me ask you again, have you ever felt awake in a room of dreamers? Have you ever seen through the games people play, the masks they wear, the illusions they chase, and felt that strange mixture of loneliness and liberation? Have you ever wondered if something's wrong with you for seeing what others cannot see? Here's what I want you to understand. You're not cursed. You're not broken. You're not better or worse than anyone else. You've simply tuned into a different frequency, one that most people spend their whole lives avoiding. Alan Watts said that the universe is a play, a cosmic game of hide and seek. God, or consciousness, or whatever you want to call the source of all this, is playing all the parts. It's pretending to be you, pretending to be everyone else, pretending to be the trees and the stars and the space between atoms. And the game is to forget that it's pretending, to get lost in the character, to take the drama seriously. But every once in a while, consciousness winks at itself. It remembers, just for a moment, what it really is. And that's what's happened to you. You've had the wink. You've been let in on the cosmic joke. According to Alan Watts, this is not the end of the spiritual journey. It's barely the beginning. Because the real question isn't, how do I wake up? The real question is, what do I do with this wakefulness? How do I live? How do I love? And the answer, always, is to keep playing. To keep engaging. To keep caring about things even when you know they're impermanent. To keep loving people even when you see their illusions. Alan Watts discovered something that most spiritual teachers miss: enlightenment isn't about becoming someone different. It's about relaxing into what you've always been. The universe sees through you. And its laughter is your freedom. Thank you so much for staying with me through this exploration. If you found value in today's discussion, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who might benefit from it.